Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of our Iron Wizard playthrough. Loading into field S1 now, we have quite a lot of traps built for us and some poison gems provided. We're going to space them out, 3 of them spaced out. The reason we're spacing them out is that poison doesn't stack particularly well. It does stack a little bit if it's hit multiple times, but not particularly efficiently. We're also going to be putting an orange gem in a tower to use beams on for mana leech, which is pretty standard. And we're probably going to leave the traps as they are, purely because they don't hit stashes. So we're going to build up this orange gem to beam till it's grade 4, and then we're going to start building up a gem to work on the iron stash. Unfortunately we won't have time for the brass stash in this field, but other than that it's pretty straightforward. I know I haven't really touched on my skill distributions much so far, and you'll notice that I'm spending most of my skill points. This is because the points spent tend to pay for themselves by the time you've done a few waves. So as nice as the initial mana is, if you can survive without it, you'll usually be better off spending the skills. You'll notice I only have 1 point infusion because the bonuses on it are quite small, so it's not particularly cost effective to put many skill points into it. The beam skill is quite good in terms of uptime because of the increased duration as well as the slightly reduced cooldown. So I'll tend to keep beam as a multiple of 5. Mana stream doesn't care too much about being a multiple of 5 because I don't care about the per 5 bonus. Fusion does care about being a multiple of 5, but again it's quite weak. But the first point is cheap, so knocks a mana off grade 1s. By the time you've built 7 grade 1s or equivalent, it's paid for itself. You'll also notice that on fields that have structures built for you, you can afford to start with less mana and you can spend your skill points more aggressively. Now I know I said I was going to minimise unnecessary fields, but for some of the stashes coming up, getting the extra stashes from this field is quite nice. So we start with a grade 2 orange purple jewel built for us and 1 tower, so that's quite nice. We just have to build a tower and then put our gem in it. Now we do have a few slip past, but this isn't a problem because we're going to need a tower down for the iron stash anyway. I am a bit slow on this, so one does sneak past me, but we'll survive. So an extra copy to clean up the ones that slip past, and it gives me enough mana for the combine to upgrade them. Now the grade 3 is doing pretty solid. Might as well spend my mana and have something hitting the iron stash, even if it won't be doing a lot through the armour. Now we've got a grade 4 orange, it's time to think about breaking through the stashes a bit more. So I get a purple one to reduce the armour of the stash. Now it's worth noting that even an orange purple jewel would break through the armour of the iron stash quite quickly. However, this gem is going to be used as part of a later jewel, and because orange is a weaker component than purple, I want to try and make it as purple heavy as possible. So that's why I'm using a pure purple at the moment, even though it's not strictly optimal for damage to that stash. So now that stash is down, we can think about combining this up. And that other grade 4 is very purple heavy, so it can deal with that stash armor quite nicely. So now I'm trying to get the grade 5 to target the stash as much as possible, and just use beam for the cleanups, since beam will do less overkill and ignores armor. So now the stash is down, I can move my grade 5 to catch the ones that slip past, although I would have enough mana to deal with it even if I didn't move it. So, because of the gems provided in this level, we don't need too much mana for the start. We can afford to spend our skill points quite aggressively. And this is a pretty chill map. Without armor tearing on these maps, it's very hard to push for the brass stashes. So for the very early levels, without armor tearing, we just have to only take the irons. So get a second tower just to make sure we're spending our mana and maximising our damage. So because we're provided a lot of the towers for free, I like to spam the grade 1 purples again because they're cost effective against monsters with no armor. And then a standard thing here again with our orange gem that we're going to be beaming as much as possible. So just move one of the grade 1s to catch the leaks. They can actually run either way round this section at the bottom because of how the pathing works on this game. So they will prioritise the shortest path, but if there's close equivalents, there's a chance they take a slightly longer path. And this just means the monsters tend to wiggle around a bit more rather than being super direct. So you'll notice I've started building up an armor tearing gem on the bronze stash even, rather than just saving for upgrades on the mana leeching gem. This is because I intend to take this brass stash and I need to get working on it sooner rather than later. So I can't spend too much time building up a big gem. I need to take care of it as soon as possible. It's always a balance with these. How long do you spend mana stealing to get stronger, and how long do you spend focusing on the stash? So you'll notice here I'm clicking on the play button to go frame by frame because I don't want to waste any beam I don't have to. Although I think the effect of this ends up being quite minimal, so. So now we're making it dual for the extra damage, although we're keeping it as purple as possible because purple has the better preferential stats over orange. There we go, and it got a little bit of beam as a grade 4 because of the frame by frame. So we still want to be using the beam on our orange gem for the extra mana, because it will also be cost effectively damaging the monsters with it ignoring armor. I should have switched that grade 4 to nearest the orb just to stop the monster running past, but I missed it and it is what it is. So that last bit of mana from beaming the grade 3 orange gem will now be used as soon as beam comes back up to combine up to a grade 5, and we'll use the beam to restock it. Now we're going to keep it so the beam is not in range of the bronze stash and set it to structure. Again, this is because the beam is more effective against the monsters than regular shots because it'll do less overkill and ignore armor. It'll also steal mana, whereas the regular shots won't really steal a significant amount. And this just overall leads to more mana and less wasted damage. The wasted damage being quite significant, as getting this bronze stash is quite tight. You'll notice most people don't attempt this bronze stash until they've got significantly more skill points. It's always a balance near the end of how many do you let through, focusing the stash. If you let too many through, you're at risk of losing. If you let too few through, you're at risk of not doing enough damage to the stash. But with the stash down, it's a pretty straightforward cleanup. If you were replaying fields, you could quite easily come back and get the brass stash here for the extra skill points. Or you could even do it in the reverse order, get the brass stash first and come back for the bronze stash, because the extra skill points will make this bronze stash a bit less tight. But the bronze stash is going to be quite important because you've got the trap skill, which is going to be more important later on, but we will use it a little bit even sooner. So I'll catch you next time.